Hello everybody, welcome to the stream for those of you just tuning in, and that includes myself. My name is Marlon, and this is episode 57 of Mushroom City in Minecraft. For today, we're going to do something a slight bit different in the stream with the national weather discussion. I have been a little in and out with the green screen in terms of practice, but so far, all I can say, folks, is that, well, it's not going to be perfect, folks, but this is something for me to work on, alright? Now, before we can get to the green screen part, I want to show you guys what's going on with the weather. Hold on a minute. Yeah, because sometimes it's a little uncomfortable on my end when it comes to setting things up. But right now, we do have plenty of active weather alerts, and there are currently 191. There are 9 severe thunderstorm warnings in Colorado, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, and Canada. 4 flash flood warnings in Georgia, South Carolina, and Canada. 4 special marine warnings are in Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and Louisiana. 8 special weather statements in Louisiana, Montana, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, Ohio, I think I already said Kentucky, and Texas. I don't know if I already said Florida. There are 96 non-precipitation type of alerts with 18 extreme heat warnings, 78 air quality alerts, 28 flood warnings, and 42 red flag warnings. Alright folks, so this is going to be very big, so let's just go ahead and get this over with, just so that I can get you guys a little bit used to what may or may not be the future. Hold on a minute. Another reason is the background noise, which I can't really do anything about because they don't know that I'm streaming. But in my mind, it's a conspiracy. Alright, so enough of that. Let's just go over. Oh my god. Alright, now let's go over the weather in the Northeast. So let's start off with stationary front, which is present throughout places like upstate New York, from Buffalo all the way to Albany, all along the I-90 corridor. Man, what's with everyone right now? Looks like they don't want me to do the weather. Alright, so we start with Buffalo, Albany, and then just south of Boston, where there is a stationary front, then transitions into a cold front as it moves out to sea. Though currently in the past 3 hours, I should say, there are some pop-up thunderstorms that have happened in the Adirondacks, moved on to Vermont and into New Hampshire, and as well as just a few showers and storms in western Pennsylvania and Virginia, the Delmarva Peninsula, points south Washington, D.C., and the Annapolis, which happens to be the capital of Maryland. But it's been mostly clear in West Virginia, especially the greater New York City area, but I would argue that based on my personal observation from my eyes, it wasn't really clear. Though the one thing I could say, folks, is that much of the Northeast is under air quality alerts from New Hampshire all the way to Philadelphia, and of course the greater New York City area is no exception. So you can see, of course, they do put out a bunch of statements there, which says that the air quality levels will be greater than 100 in terms of the air quality alert index for the pollutant of fine particulates, And what does this mean in English? Well, it just means that it's going to be unhealthy for the most part. So, of course, let me quote this. When pollution levels are elevated, the New York State Department of Health recommends that individuals consider limiting strenuous outdoor physical activity to reduce the risk of adverse health effects. People who may especially be sensitive to the effects of elevated levels of pollutants include the very young and those with pre-existing respiratory problems such as asthma or heart disease. Those with symptoms should consider consulting their personal physician. Of course, they have their links. Not only there, but New Jersey, well, much of New Jersey, except for the southern half of the Jersey Shore. There's Philly, and throughout the eastern, well, much of Pennsylvania, as you can see, though West Pennsylvania, they're fine. New England, they are far from fine, except for Boston, Rhode Island, and Maine, in which they get clear conditions. But even though it may be nice out, but it doesn't really mean that the danger is out of the picture. It just means that those with underlying health conditions do need to seek shelter or seek medical attention in case if anything bad happens. Now we go down to the southeast, where there is a stationary front that's snaking through the southeast from Charleston all the way to Pensacola, New Orleans, and into Houston. All of that has contributed to some moderate to heavy rains in some places. There is severe thunder. There are 2 severe thunderstorm warnings just west of Charleston in South Carolina. A flash flood warning located in Savannah, as well as a special marine warning, which means choppy waters off of Savannah, and especially southeast of Jacksonville, all the way down to Daytona Beach, where there are some thunderstorms. They're strong enough to cause damaging winds and some small hail, but not enough to issue severe thunderstorm warnings. But hold on a minute. Alright, we're back. So now, let's just hurry this up just so that nothing worse happens. Alright, so in the Carolinas, all the way down to Florida, pop-up thunderstorms are there, especially throughout much of Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and even parts of Arkansas. But Tennessee, it's mostly clear for the most part. But other than that, there's a lot of strong weather throughout the southeast. But we'll get to the tropical storm development in a couple minutes. That part, maybe there's a chance I'll put myself behind the green screen. And we go all the way to the south central part of the country, where there are air quality alerts in places like Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's quite different from the one in the northeast, in which they're dealing with Canadian wildfire smoke. I mean, that has entered the upper part of the atmosphere and then spread towards the Great Lakes region, the northeast, including my area, the New York City area. But we'll continue talking about that as we roll around. Right now, we have pop-up thunderstorms in the past 3 hours throughout the Gulf Coast of Texas, especially the western part of the Lone Star State with... Oh my God! I'm terribly sorry about that, folks. People are just relentless. In Marfa, there is a special weather statement there. That's where you find some strong thunderstorms that that can cause damaging winds, maybe some small hail. Then elsewhere throughout the Lone Star State, you're not seeing much in the Panhandle throughout San Antonio, Austin, Tyler, and in Oklahoma. There's a severe thunderstorm warning in the far western Panhandle of the state. And as we move on to Kentucky and the Ohio Valley, there are some extreme, well, not extreme, but there are some strong thunderstorms. Particularly, there is one special weather statement right across the river from Cincinnati on the Kentucky side. Some strong thunderstorms are there, but not enough to issue tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings at this moment. There is an air quality alert throughout Cleveland and even Chicago, all the way up north to Green Bay, mostly because of urban pollution and as well as Canadian wildfire smoke. But the one in Michigan, for example, let me open this up. I am going to mention that here that it does say keep windows closed overnight to prevent smoke from getting indoors, and if possible run central air conditioning with MERV 13 or higher rated filters. So in other words, folks, the Great Lakes region is dealing with some serious Canadian wildfire smoke that's coming from Manitoba. But we'll get to that in a moment. But elsewhere throughout the Midwest, the Dakotas and Minnesota, they have some storms rolling through that part of the country with some flood warnings posted from the Mississippi River in Missouri all the way up to Iowa and into southern Minnesota. Severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued in the southeast part of North Dakota. They're moving towards Fargo and about to reach Minneapolis, but it's only just going to be nothing but clouds and showers there as it approaches. Now we go further south towards Iowa and Missouri. Not that much going on, just a few passing clouds and showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder as it rolls around through the northwest corner of Iowa. In the southeastern part of Missouri, there are pop-up thunderstorms there. The bootleg part of the state, as you can see, especially near Cape Girardeau, with a special weather statement near Doniphan. In Nebraska and Kansas, a few passing showers and clouds in eastern Nebraska, northwestern Nebraska too. Mostly clear throughout Kansas. Now we go to the northern Rockies. You can see some passing showers and thunderstorms just moving counterclockwise, so you can see. Well, right now, it's only focused on the northern half of Minnesota. Iowa, you're not seeing much going on in Iowa. In Wyoming, just a few pop-up showers and storms moving east, coming from anywhere between Casper and Gillette. But do keep in mind that there are red flag warnings that have been posted throughout Wyoming on the south side, all because of some dry conditions, low humidity, higher sustained winds, and as well as dead vegetation there. And even though it's right along the stationary front, which stretches from eastern Nevada all the way to Nebraska, transitions to cold front briefly into South Dakota, and then becomes a stationary front all over again, moving to the rest of South Dakota to the east. Dry weather will persist throughout the Great Basin, especially parts of the Rockies. And speaking of which, actually, it's just only plenty of red flag warnings throughout western Colorado, much of Utah, and east central Nevada. Then going down to the desert southwest, pop-up thunderstorms. You can see that have been occurring throughout the past 3 hours in Arizona and western New Mexico, and as well as southeastern New Mexico. But keep in mind as well that there are extreme heat warnings in the southern and western parts of Arizona, plus parts of the Grand Canyon too, and let's not forget about southeastern California. In the LA area, there are air quality alerts posted outside the city. Folks there definitely need to exercise caution. All right, I'm back. Las Vegas, well, just outside the city, outside of Sin City, they do have extreme heat warnings to the east, especially Boulder City. Nothing much going on in Northern California, especially the San Francisco Bay Area and as well as the Sierra Nevadas. Nothing much going on in the past 3 hours. Going into the Pacific Northwest, nothing much going on, just a few passing clouds rolling through Olympic National Park, the peninsula part of Washington State, as you can see. All right, and now let's change course to here. Well, actually, it's not what I meant to do. I meant to move to here. But before we do that, I just need a quick sip, folks. Hold on a minute. Never mind. Alright, now I'm back. Let's briefly talk about the Northeast, where you're seeing some light and variable winds located throughout New England, but plenty of onshore winds, sea breezes located throughout New England, with winds topping at 20-25 miles per hour, particularly in Cape Cod, Nantucket Island, and Martha's Vineyard. Long Island dealing with some winds coming from the Atlantic on the east side. So you can see they're moving up to 20 miles an hour. Jersey Shore up to 10 to 15 miles an hour. Pennsylvania winds are moving to the northwest up to 15 to 20 miles an hour, especially in the Delmarva Peninsula and the Mid-Atlantic. Well, in Maryland and West Virginia, just no more than 20 miles an hour. But in the southern tip, winds are moving to the southwest, blowing up to 25 miles per hour. Hold on a minute. Alright, I'm back. Virginia, well, particularly in southeastern Virginia, especially the Virginia part of the Delmarva Peninsula, winds are moving to the southwest, blowing up to 20 miles an hour there. Temperatures all over New England, they actually range from the low 50s to low 80s. Upstate New York, temperatures range from the mid 70s to low 80s. In the greater New York City area, temperatures range from the upper 70s to mid 80s. Pennsylvania, temperatures are in the upper 70s to mid 80s. Then you have the Mid-Atlantic, like Delaware, Maryland, D.C., Virginia. Temperatures are in the 70s to low 80s. Virginia also in the 70s to low 80s. Then we go down to the southeast. where you do have mostly light and variable winds in Tennessee, and you have in the southern two-thirds of Georgia, though there is sea breeze moving at about up to 20 miles an hour from Savannah all the way down to the Florida border. Northern third of Georgia is particularly like on the north side of Atlanta. Winds are coming from the northeast, blowing up to 20 miles an hour. In the Carolinas, much of the Carolinas, you have winds generally coming from the northeast, blowing up to 20 miles an hour. But in the Outer Banks, especially all the way down to Myrtle Beach, winds are picking up throughout up to 25 there. In Alabama, Mississippi, you have mostly light and variable winds, but they're actually coming from the east and then shifting to the south, especially in Mississippi, but very light and variable for the most part. Arkansas, winds are coming from the east, but they're blowing at no more than 10 miles an hour, but very light and variable on the western half. Louisiana, winds are very light there, converging winds with winds coming from the Gulf on the south side, north side. Winds are coming from the northeast, just shifting to the south, becoming convergent. Talk temperatures. So temperatures throughout the Carolinas, they're in the 70s. Georgia, mid 70s to mid 80s. Tennessee, 80s. Alabama, Mississippi, temperatures are in the upper 70s to upper 80s. Arkansas, temperatures are in the 80s. Louisiana, temperatures are in the mid 80s to mid 90s. Then we go down to Florida. All over the Atlantic coast, winds are up to 20 miles an hour. They're coming from the sea. In the west coast of Florida, you have on the Panhandle side, winds are moving to the northeast, but in some places they're very light and variable though. And the winds are blowing, they're blowing up to 20 miles an hour. In South Florida, on the Gulf side, winds are very light and variable for the most part. Winds are converging in the central part of Florida. Temperatures all across the Sunshine State, they are in the 80s, but let's not forget about Key West, where winds are coming from the east, blowing at up to 20 miles an hour. Then we go to Oklahoma and Texas, where winds are coming from the east on the south side and the east side, blowing up to 20 miles an hour, but in a few areas a little stronger than that, up to 25, particularly on the southern tip. On the Panhandle side, winds are shifting to the north, moving at up to 30, 35 miles an hour in some places. Western Texas, winds are getting lighter though, still moving to the west. Oklahoma, you have much of the state, winds are generally moving to the north, but on the eastern edge, winds are light and variable there. Temperatures in Oklahoma, they are in the upper 80s to mid 90s. And we have on the Panhandle side, temperatures are in the 90s. Western Texas, temperatures are in the 90s to low hundreds. South side, temperatures are in the upper 80s to low hundreds. Eastern and northeastern part of Texas, temperatures are in the upper 80s to mid 90s. We go to the Ohio Valley. Kentucky and the southern tips of Illinois and Indiana have light and variable winds. In Ohio, winds are coming from the southeast, blowing up to 10 to 15 miles an hour, but on the northwestern part, you have winds coming from Lake Erie, moving to the west at up to 20 miles an hour. Northern half of Indiana, winds are moving to the west at up to 15 miles an hour. Northern Illinois, winds are moving to the west at up to 20 miles an hour. You got temperatures all across the Ohio Valley. They are in the mid 70s to the mid 80s. Then we go to the Great Lakes region, where you have Michigan and Wisconsin. Let's start off with the lower peninsula of Michigan, where winds are coming from the east, blowing up to 20 miles an hour. In the upper peninsula of Michigan and Wisconsin, winds are moving to the northwest, blowing up to 20 miles an hour. Though on the west side, on the lake shores of lower Michigan, you have winds. They're blowing up to 25 miles per hour, blowing from the lake there. Temperatures in the lower part of Michigan, they are in the upper 70s to mid 80s. Upper Peninsula, 70s. Wisconsin, mid 70s to low 80s. Then we go to the Dakotas and Minnesota, where Minnesota winds are moving to the northwest at up to 20 to 25 miles per hour. In the Dakotas, you have winds that are converging on the western half of the Dakotas. On the east side, you have winds that are moving to the northwest, blowing up to 30 miles per hour in a few places, particularly on the eastern part of South Dakota. Winds blowing past that, probably blowing up to 35 to 40 miles an hour in terms of sustained winds. West side, up to 20 miles an hour coming from the west or northwest. Temperatures in Minnesota, they are in the 70s to low 80s. The Dakotas, you have temperatures that range from the low 70s to the mid 80s. Then we go down to the Missouri River Valley in places like Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas. Iowa, you have winds that are moving to the northwest at up to 20 to 25 miles an hour. Missouri, winds are somewhat light and variable throughout much of the state, but on the northwestern side and northern side, winds are moving to the northwest at up to 20 miles an hour. Kansas and Nebraska, you have winds moving to the north, but blowing at around 20 to 30 miles an hour. But Nebraska, maybe a little higher in the center part of the state. Western edge of Nebraska, you have winds coming from the west, shifting to the north, blowing up to 20 to 25 miles an hour, becoming a little light in some areas. In Iowa and Missouri, you have temperatures that are in the 80s. Kansas and Nebraska, temperatures are in the low 80s to low 90s. Then we go to the Northern Rockies. Let me check the chat real quick. See if I missed any. If I missed any, I do deeply apologize for that. Just refresh this again. Okay. Now. In 3 states, Iowa, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, winds are generally moving to the east. Winds are stronger in much of Wyoming, with winds blowing at around 20 to 30 miles an hour, particularly on the south and central and western parts of Wyoming, especially in the eastern part of Idaho, near Idaho Falls. Montana in some places blowing up to 25 miles an hour. Other places throughout the northern Rockies, just light and variable winds for the most part. Temperatures throughout Montana, they range from 73 in Bozeman to 86 in Billings and Miles City. Northern half of Idaho, temperatures are in the 60s to low 70s. Idaho, southern half of the state, temperatures are in the 70s to 80 to the upper 80s. Wyoming, temperatures range from 79 in Cody to 91 in Casper. Going down into Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, you have much of Colorado. Winds are coming from the west, blowing up to 20 to 30 miles an hour, and it's in many places. But other places, just a little light though. But on the eastern edge, winds are moving to the north, up to 20 to 30 miles an hour though. Utah, much of the state has southwesterly winds blowing up to 20 to 30 miles an hour. In the northwestern part of the state, winds are somewhat light and variable there. Nevada, on the south side, winds are coming from the north, blowing up to 25 to 30 miles an hour. On the northern half, winds are somewhat light and variable, but they actually look like as if they're moving to the northeast. In Colorado, temperatures range from 88 in Colorado Springs to 100 in Denver. Utah, temperatures range from 82 in Logan to 100 in St. George. Much of Nevada, temperatures are in the 80s, but on the southern tip, temperatures are in the 90s to mid-hundreds. In the desert southwest, New Mexico and Arizona, you have winds in Arizona coming from the southwest, particularly from the Gulf of California, moving to the east at around 20 to 30 miles an hour throughout much of the state. Southeastern part of the state, light and variable, especially on the south side of New Mexico. Northern side, winds are moving to the east, but shifting to the northeast at up to 20 to 30 miles per hour in many places. In the southeastern corner of New Mexico, you have winds that are actually moving to the northeast, for the most part. New Mexico temperatures range from the upper 80s to mid 100s. Arizona, you have temperatures on the northern half of the state range from 82 in Alpine to 98 in Kingman. Southern Arizona temperatures are in the triple digits. Going to California, winds offshore, they're blowing along the California coast to the south at up to 30 to 40 miles an hour. But on the coastal side, particularly from Santa Barbara all the way up north to Eureka, winds along the beaches, they're blowing up to 30 miles an hour. Winds that are moving on shore, they move to inland to the Sierra Nevadas for the most part, through the Central Valley, California, at up to 20 miles an hour, especially north of LA, but just a little over 25 miles per hour, going into Death Valley and the Mojave Desert. But other places, somewhat light and variable for the most part. Temperatures, so you have 62 in Eureka, the Bay Area of San Francisco, temperatures are in the upper 70s to mid 80s. LA at 91, 75 in San Diego, 107 in Indio. The Central Valley of California, they are in the 90s. Then we go up to the Pacific Northwest, where much of the state, it's no more than 20 miles an hour, but in the north central part of Oregon and south central part of Washington State, plus the southeastern corner of Washington State, winds blowing at up to 25 miles per hour. But for the most part, winds are moving to the east, but on the leeward side of the Cascades in Washington State, meaning the eastern half of the state, winds are shifting to the north at up to 25 miles per hour. In Oregon, temperatures are in the 70s to low 80s. So Washington State, temperatures are in the mid 70s to mid 80s. Alright, so now let's talk about gusts. Where are the gusts at? Okay, so some gusts are occurring throughout parts of the Carolinas, from Charlotte all the way to Atlanta, blowing up to 30 miles an hour. But storms produce actual results, so it's best to consult with your local officials and the local National Weather Service office for more accurate reports as real-time weather reports come in. They're the ones who would tell you the real story. This is just an estimate. Throughout the Great Plains, winds are moving to the north at around 40 to 50 miles an hour, especially throughout the Great Basin, parts of the desert southwest, and parts of the Rockies, though they look like as though they're moving to the northeast and then to the east in Wyoming. Alright, so now let's talk about humidity. Where's the humidity, folks? Okay, so we got plenty of humidity in the southeast, especially in the Dakotas. Rainfall accumulation, let's start off with the southeast, where some parts of the southeast may get as much as 4 to 6 inches of rain, but it's just an estimate, folks. Consult with the local National Weather Service office and your local officials for accurate weather reports. They're the ones who actually give you the real data. This is just an estimate, folks. I mean, this has been estimated a while ago. It's affecting places like the Carolinas, all the way down to Georgia, northern Florida, and then all the way to Louisiana, Mississippi, and just a few batches of rainfall accumulation in western Ohio. Went just about up to no more than an inch of rain, no more than half an inch of rain in eastern Indiana. Then in the Dakotas and Nebraska and Minnesota, rainfall estimates are up to 4 to 6 inches of rain in many places. just localized flooding, of course. And Olympic National Park, up to half an inch of rain there. Right. Next stop is here. Rather, here, I should say. Now, I'm going to try something a little different, folks. Yeah, just bear with me on this. Hold on a minute. Okay, testing, testing. Okay. Testing, testing. Yeah, folks, for those of you who are new to this, this is just me testing the mic. Okay, let's get to it right about. Let's get to it right about now. Yeah, I don't want any miscues or anything. Okay. Okay, so this is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me on this, folks. Okay. Okay. So where am I? Okay, so this is me, creator of Marlinology, and as you can see, I do have got to fix on some things with the green screen right now. So what am I doing right now? Let's just focus on this side on my end, folks. Now, this may sound more amateurish, but right now, this is all I got this time. So, what do we have here? So, we do have the Dexter right now. Now, what's going on with Dexter? Well, Dexter right now, it has an estimate of maximum sustained winds of 35 knots or 40 miles an hour, and central barometric pressure at the minimum is 1,005 millibars, and it's moving to the northeast at 11 knots or 13 miles an hour. Right, guys? So it's going to move in that direction is what I'm saying, right? Now let's see what we got. This one's got 1040, 050. All right. Yeah, this right here. Yeah, this right here. It's got 10% chance of development within the next 2 days, and 40% chance of development within the next 7 days during the whole course of the week. Then you have zero chance development within the next 2 days, and 50% chance of development within the next 7 days. Now, what does this all mean? Well, I'm going to go back and just check out what's going on in terms of the upper level winds, as well as comparing the European and American models. So let's get back right to it. All right. Need my. Oops. Okay. I wonder if I get my blue mic right now. All right. Okay, so right now I'm just checking on things, folks. Yeah, a little bit of practice on the green screen wouldn't hurt, but right now this is just a more preliminary stage of how am I going to deal with this going forward. Right, guys? It's a bit dizzying. Okay, so now let's go back and see what we got. Start off with here and assume that this is what's going on right now. So there is a setup, an upper level high that's located over the desert southwest in Texas, which translates to a ridge located over that region, and a trough located over the Great Lakes region, and that there is going to be, or rather, there is a ridge located off of the Outer Banks in North Carolina, a trough over the Pacific Northwest. What does this mean? There is plenty of wet weather to go around throughout some places like the Northern Rockies, and sorry about that, as well as some, as well as the Northern Rockies and Northern Plains, I should say. The Mid-Atlantic is currently getting some storms going, and the Southeast too. Now we go to 24 hours from now, so this big area of high pressure aloft, it's going to be all over. It's going to spread from California all the way to the Mississippi, from the Colorado River to the Mississippi River. So it's going to be very hot throughout the desert southwest all the way to the southern plains. That is going to mean that there's going to be a ridge over the Great Plains and the Colorado Rockies. There is going to be a trough over the Pacific Northwest. And I think there's going to be a trough in north of Montana, so that's Canada's problem. There's going to be a trough located over Lake Huron, and another ridge just off of the Carolina coast. What does this mean? It means there could be some wet weather that's going to happen in parts of the Great Basin, the Northern Rockies, and the Northern Plains too, and especially the southeastern part of the country, and maybe in some parts of the Mid-Atlantic, and even going down Florida as well. That's for tomorrow night. Thursday night, it's going to be an upper level high. It's going to slowly move to the east, but still affecting the desert southwest, Texas, southern plains, causing a ridge to occur throughout the Great Plains, a trough over the Bitterroot Mountains and Idaho. There is going to be a little bit of a trough located in the New York City area, which means that there could be some wet weather and some storms that could occur in some parts of the Great Basin all the way to the Northern Plains, and maybe some spotty thunderstorms in some parts of the southeast. And finally, by Friday night, there's going to be a trough. It's going to occur throughout northeastern Montana. A ridge, or rather an upper level high, that's going to stick around, but it's going to weaken though over the desert southwest and western Texas, which means a ridge, it's going to occur throughout eastern Texas. And there's also going to be a ridge over the Great Lakes region, a little trough off of the Mid-Atlantic, which means that there's going to be storms that are going to occur throughout the northern plains and the upper Mississippi Valley, and even going all the way down to New Mexico, and some spotty storms throughout the southeast, and even, let's not forget about maybe even some, oh no, never mind, mind. I misread that. But still, there could be some spotty storms in the southeast. All right. Now, before we move on, I just want to go back and check in terms of the tropics. Okay, so right around here, there is an area of development. There's a barometric swamp there. We moved to 24 hours from now, still using the GFS model. And by tomorrow night, winds aloft will get a little stronger, moving clockwise at 500 millibars. Then moving onto Thursday night, it looks like as though that I see a little bit of a swirl, which could indicate a storm that could be developing. The next named storm, we'll get to that in a moment. It doesn't really look like as though there is much to it, folks. I mean, there could be something. I mean, there could be a rainmaker as a result, as I said, but in terms of tropical storms and impact, it's not going to be much. It's not quite as impressive as I thought, at least in terms of the GFS model. Then for Saturday night, looks like as though when upper level winds are picking up, doesn't really look like an ideal condition for conditions for hurricane or tropical storm development or anything to occur tropical wise. Looks like it's weekend. I mean, this is Sunday night going to Monday night. It looks like strong winds aloft. Then for a week from now, well, there is going to be something. And it's going to be just about a couple hundred miles off of Miami and off of the Bahamas. But that's actually going to be from somewhere else, folks. But anyway, we got enough time. But if I were you, I would stock up and start getting ready for the next storm, even if it's just about a couple days away. All right, I'm back. Now let's go back and change this to the European models. What do we have? Air stagnates just off the Carolinas. Not seeing much, folks. Not seeing much. For Thursday night, I could see some spin, folks. It looks like a counterclockwise flow just off the Carolinas. But it's too early to call it a tropical system. By Friday night, yeah, it's somewhat spinning off of the Outer Banks for Friday night. Then by Saturday night, it looks like as though it's going to be out to sea. But it looks like some development could occur there. Sunday night, not much going on. Tuesday night, moving out. Sunday night. This one is Monday night. Okay, so not much going on, folks, but regardless, it's going to be a rainmaker, a big rainmaker in the southeast. Now let's transition to back to Radar Omega right now, right here. Okay, so let's talk about the 3-day forecast. And I can see a tornado warning. We'll get to that in a moment, folks. But you know what? I might as well just talk about it right now. Since why not, right? So there is one located in North Dakota. Let me turn on the single site radar. Let's use here near Aberdeen, South Dakota. And it looks like as though that there is an area of rotation, as you can see. Along with the severe thunderstorm warning that's there. You know what? I think I might as well just go ahead and put myself back on the green screen. It's just so that.
All right. Time for action once again. All right, I'm back, folks. All right, so now so as you can see, folks, I don't know if you guys can see. I'm just gonna move right here just so that you guys can see where the nearest radar is located. Yeah, the nearest radar is in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And the green represents winds that are moving toward the radar, and the red one is indicating the winds that are moving away from the radar. Now in English, what is that? What does that mean in terms of finding tornadoes? Well, it's pretty useful, folks. That can mean that there could be an area of rotation or not, just as long as I'm able to detect myself. It's always detected by radar, but I would rather do it my way. All right. Now, it is just southeast of now, Aberdeen is just southeast of where the tornado warning is located. All right. As you can see, now I'm going to, whoops, I need to do that. There we go. Just to give myself better reference, might consider all right. There is a tornado warning that's located in the southern part of North Dakota. And as you can see, there is a tornado warning to my right. And the arrows that you see right here were drawn by yours truly. Now, what did the arrows indicate? The arrows indicate whether if the green is moving towards the radar and the red one moving away from the radar. The winds, the green areas on the radar indicate that the winds are moving toward the radar, and the red colors indicate the winds that are moving away from the radar. And the radar is located southeast of where the tornado warning is located. And it looks like as though it's changing, folks. So sorry about that. I don't know if the mic already picked up, but just to be on the safe side, I'll repeat it again. The colors that everyone sees indicates where the winds are moving. The green areas on the radar indicate the winds that are moving toward the radar, and the red areas, I thought I heard. The green colors on the map represent the winds that are moving toward the radar, and the red colors indicate where the winds moving away from the radar. The green colors on the map that you see right here indicate the green colors that you guys are seeing right here, that is where the winds that are moving toward the radar, and the red colors indicate the winds that are moving away from the radar. And as you can see, this tornado warning right here is indicated by radar where the rotation is located. And the green colors do indicate that it's moving to southeast and vice versa with the red colors, which means that there is an area of rotation within the tornado warning, which does indicate that there is a funnel cloud nearby or supercell thunderstorm, which could indicate tornadoes that is in the vicinity of the tornado warning. All right, folks. Mike.
All right, I'm back, folks. Yeah, so sorry about that. Too many background noise, and as well as the loss of concentration and focus as a result of that. And also me trying to adjust to the green screen part, which does require a lot of practice, folks. If you're completely new to this, as somebody who has been on the green screen for many years, well, I've taken years worth of that gap, which did catch me off guard. Alright, so now let's make this quick, and I've already wasted too much time just trying to, repeat myself. Oh, this is not what I wanted to do. Nope, not even that too. There we go. But I would need temperature and as well as timing. Let me take a quick sip, folks. Whew. Where are the warm lows? In Florida, southern Arizona, and southeastern California. Chilly lows in the Rockies, parts of the Great Basin, and the Cascades and the Sierra Nevadas too. Now we move on to tomorrow night. By tomorrow night, where are the hot spots? Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, and the Southern Plains, Desert Southwest, went to the Great Basin. The Great Plains in its entirety. Much of the Great Basin, Desert Southwest, much of California. Quite chilly in some parts of the Mid-Atlantic and even northwestern Great Lakes region and the Cascades. Where are the warm lows? In Florida, southern Texas, and eastern Texas, and southern Arizona, southeastern California. Chilly lows throughout much of the Great Basin, Sierra Nevadas, Cascades, Northern Rockies. That's for Thursday morning. For Thursday night, where are the hot spots? Great Plains, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Desert Southwest, Great Basin, much of California, chilly temperatures in the Cascades, Northern Rockies, and even parts of North Dakota, and even very warm, very hot conditions, somewhat hot conditions in Minnesota. Now, what about Friday morning? Where are the hot spots? South Florida, Oklahoma, southern Texas, southern Arizona, and southeastern California. Chilly lows throughout much of the Northwest. It's going to be very chilly there for Friday night. Where are the hot spots? Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, southern, much of the Great Plains, desert Southwest, parts of the Great Basin, California. Sorry about that. And chilly temperatures, chilly highs in the northern Rockies, like Montana and the Cascades, and even offshore from Maine. Now let's talk about humidity. Where's the humidity? Anywhere east of the Rockies, it's very humid. Plus the coastal part of the Pacific Northwest. Now we go to tomorrow night. Anywhere east of the Rockies, it's going to be very moist, except for much of the western part of the Dakotas and western Texas. It's going to be somewhat humid throughout much of the west coast for tomorrow night. For Thursday morning, anywhere east of the Rockies, it's going to be humid, minus northern Dakota. Somewhat humid anywhere along the coast, anywhere north of San Francisco. What about Thursday night? Thursday night, anywhere east of the Rockies, minus the Western Plains. It's going to be moist. Western Texas, not as moist. Less moisture happening in the coastal part of the Pacific Northwest. Friday morning, anywhere east of the Rockies, minus Western Plains. Humid, less humid along the west coast. Finally, like Friday night, anywhere east of the Rockies, minus the Western Plains and western Texas, it's going to be very humid, and some humidity will occur throughout parts of the Pacific Northwest and parts of the west coast. Now let's talk about Cape. What do we have for Cape? A lot of convection in Florida and the rest of the Gulf Coast, and as well as the northern plains. Tomorrow night, it's going to be there's a lot of convection going on in the Great Plains and parts of the Gulf Coast. A little bit of convection in the Ohio Valley and the rest of the South. Now, what about Thursday morning? There's a lot of convection in the northern plains, parts of the Dakotas, and plenty of convection all along the Gulf Coast. A little bit of convection in the Mississippi Valley. Not much, though. Thursday night, excessive amount of convection throughout the upper Mississippi Valley, the northern plains, the Dakotas, parts of the Great Lakes region, and even parts of the Gulf Coast. A little bit of convection in the rest of the South and the Ohio Valley. Friday morning, there's going to be some convection throughout the Gulf Coast. Lots of convection in South Dakota and parts of Minnesota, and even a little bit over Lake Michigan in the Chicago area. Even a tiny bit along the Mississippi Valley. And finally, look at this. This is sick. Lots of convection in the northern plains, upper Mississippi Valley, and the Dakotas. Look at this. And there's a lot of it in the southern tip of Texas. The rest of the South, plus Florida, somewhat good amount of convection, but not much, not drastic as much as southern Texas and the northern plains. Now let's check the radar, check any precipitation for the next 3 days. So for the next 3 days, there's going to be convection. Well, not convection. There's going to be plenty of storms throughout the mid-Atlantic, the southeast, spotty showers and storms throughout parts of lower Mississippi Valley, lots of storms in the upper Mississippi Valley, northern plains, and even some showers and a few storms in the Pacific Northwest, with some stray showers throughout the rest of some parts of the West Coast. Hold on a minute. Alright, I'm back. Now let's move on to tomorrow night. By tomorrow night, there's going to be a lot of rainfall, a lot of storms in some parts along the East Coast, but anywhere just south of New York, though. Some few showers, clouds, and storms throughout parts of the South, excluding the East Coast, especially in the Great Lakes region and parts of the Ohio Valley, and some storms in the Pacific Northwest, especially the Bitterroot Mountains and Northern Rockies, and just a few showers, clouds, and storms in the desert Southwest and the Colorado Rockies. Now, what about for Thursday morning? Thursday morning, some storms will occur throughout the southeast, parts of Florida, all the way up to Washington, and more storms throughout the Missouri River Valley, like Iowa, Missouri, and even more storms throughout parts of Montana. Stray clouds and showers throughout the West Coast. Oh yeah, and let's not forget about more storms in parts of the Great Lakes region. A few clouds and a few showers in some parts of the Northeast. For Thursday night, storms, plenty of which throughout the Southeast, all the way down to Florida, especially throughout some parts of the Gulf Coast and Illinois, in the middle Mississippi Valley, some storms, and as well as the Dakotas and the upper Mississippi Valley. More storms in the northern Rockies, leeward side of the Cascades in Washington State, and parts of the desert Southwest. Now, what about Friday morning? Friday morning, there's going to be some storms brewing throughout the mid-Atlantic, parts of the Southeast, all the way down to Florida, and the rest of the Gulf Coast. Clouds, showers, and a few storms throughout the Mississippi Valley, the Great Lakes region, the northern plains, and the Dakotas. More storms in Montana, the northern Rockies, Bitterroot Mountains, and some parts of the Pacific Northwest, mostly on the eastern side of Washington State, and a few clouds and showers throughout the rest of the some parts of the West Coast. And finally, sorry about that, didn't mean to do that. There's going to be more storms throughout the Southeast, the rest of the South, and even parts of the Great Lakes region, and the Rockies and Montana, and especially the Dakotas and parts of the desert Southwest, Great Basin, and even parts of the northern part of the Northeast, like Maine, and a few clouds and showers throughout some parts of the Pacific Northwest. All right, folks, I've done a lot for the national weather discussion. Now it's time for me to switch to Minecraft right about the topic of the day. I just needed to. Oh man, I forgot to play the radar for you guys when I was transitioning to Minecraft. But but let's not fester. I suppose that I might as well just do the weather, do the physical version of the weather topic of the day, meaning that I'll just show you guys what I got. So here it goes.
Testing, testing. Good. In the northern hemisphere, due to the Coriolis effect, force of the winds tend to move to the right, and in the southern hemisphere, the opposite direction, which is to the left. In the northern hemisphere, low pressure centers tend to have winds that move around the center counterclockwise toward the center. And for high pressure centers, winds move away from the center clockwise. In the southern hemisphere, low pressure centers have winds moving toward the center to the left, and in the southern hemisphere, high pressure centers tend to have winds that move around the high pressure center but towards the center to the right. Let's just repeat it again. Due to the Coriolis effect, the forces of winds in the northern hemisphere tend to move to the right, and in the southern hemisphere, they move to the left. In the northern hemisphere, low pressure centers have winds that move towards the center and to the left. Around a high pressure center, winds that move away from the center to the right. In the southern hemisphere, low pressure centers have winds moving toward the center to the right. And around a high pressure center, winds move away from the center to the left.
All right, guys. Yeah, that's it for me. I've already done my part, and well, that's all I got for today. We'll continue with Minecraft episode 58 on Thursday, not tomorrow. I'm taking the day off, and I'll perfect my green screen appearance in the days ahead. But in the meantime, do hit me with a follow and turn on the notifications while you're at it, just so that you guys will know when I'll be streaming the next time, whether if it's going to be 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday or otherwise, or a surprise stream here and there. But regardless, I'm definitely going to stream from 6 to 8 p.m. on Thursday. But until then, do be careful out there, you guys, no matter what the weather is like. Take care of yourselves and each other. Love y'all. Peace out, everybody. Signing out.